We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
By the time this posts, the final round of the AVNation Reader's Choice Awards will be posted. You've got 2 weeks to battle it out. Last year, this time, Mr. Netto was in the final round and eventually won it for like the 15th time.
I'm a three-time champ, dude. Three-time champ.
I can't believe it. He won by a single vote.
Well, it ain't my fault. I'm a non-voting felon, thank you.
Well, it's not my fault either, because I forgot to vote.
Oh, crud. I knew there was something I meant to do today.
Companies are getting ready for U.S. tariffs, whether they actually happen or not, and the impact of CES 2025 on the AV world. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 700, recorded Friday, January 17th, 2025. A run on AV. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest AV news and information we have gathered. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss that news and information, first and foremost, Kristen Bidwell from AVZT Consulting. How are you, ma'am?
Hey, guys. How you doing? Happy to be here.
She's also on the board of Avixo, so we're very happy to have her. Also with us is Mr. Craig Durr from Collab Collective. Welcome, sir.
Everyone, how are you doing?
Doing fine. And last but not least, you know him, you love him, the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Netto.
I'm here to take your heavyweight title, Tim. Let's go.
And the fans go wild.
AV and the AM. These guys have already been talking about sound effects, so I have no idea what on earth Mitchell's going to put in the background. But if he has a sound effect of a crowd going wild, that would be appropriate there. A couple pieces of information and housekeeping. First and foremost, the final round, by the time this posts, the final round of the AVNation Reader's Choice Awards will be posted. You've got 2 weeks to battle it out. Last year, this time, Mr. Netto was in the final round and eventually won it for like the 15th time.
I'm a three-time champ, dude.
Three-time champion. There we
That's
go.
It.
But besides the obviously the AV Professional of the Year, there's lots of really great folks on that list. And then three of us are headed over to ISC. Chris will talk about him and his stand that he's got. Craig and I, we don't have stands. We're not that important, but we will be there.
You do a lot of standing, though.
We do a lot of standing, a lot of talking, a lot of walking.
Yes. I'll try not to screw up Craig's video this next time that we do a walking and talking one.
You and me both.
The last time I did it, we were in New York. That's probably my excuse.
You guys were champs. You made it. Don't worry.
It was awesome. First story, though, comes to us from Las Vegas, quite frankly. CES 2025, the Consumer Electronics Show, as the CES is called, or it stands for, wrapped up last week. It showcases advances that could quite frankly revolutionize your technology this year, or mean nothing in a year. We'll find out. More than 140,000 attendees, 4,500 exhibitors. They all came on to Las Vegas, 6,000 members of the press. They looked at stuff like LG. They've got a new OLED TV, so I was very excited about that. NVIDIA showed off their new RTX 5090 graphics card. It is supposed to be transforming gaming. And quite frankly, that was one of the biggest, at least the most covered keynote was the CEO of NVIDIA. AI, of course, took center stage at CES this year. Multiple products, new processors, a whole bunch of stuff. There was innovations in home automation, technology for healthcare, all across the board. But before we get into all the list, because I do not have time to list everything that came out of CES, Kristen, we're going to start with you, and it's a very simple question. What came out of Vegas last week that will have an impact on the IT, the AV, the UC folks that are listening or watching?
I think there were a couple of there's a lot of products that are coming out that are pretty exciting. It's always a really fun show. NVIDIA also has the NVIDIA Cosmos AI models. It's a software-based training solution for physical AI components, such as like robots, and they're training them with generative AI. They're taking digital models and transforming them into training scenarios to accelerate the development speed of those robots. So it's just going to make AI that much faster. So very, very cool product, really cool software. Check it out if you're into that kind of stuff. Also, just coming from the sustainability standpoint, there are new paper batteries coming out. So a company called Flint have made paper batteries, or they're calling them paper batteries. They're actually made of everything except lithium. No, I'm just kidding. There's, I think, zinc and a couple of other products, but all of the products that they used are not harmful to the environment like lithium-ion batteries. And they are flexible. They're very thin. They take about 10% of the manufacturing time that normal batteries take. And the really cool thing is if you bury them in soil, they are biodegradable in about 6 weeks. So they
Holy cow.
yeah, it's pretty awesome technology. They just got their first round of funding for $2 million. They're out of Singapore, and they are trying to scale. And I think their goal right now is to do, energy storage solutions, safe energy storage solutions, but they're open to any industry. The cool thing is if you poke it, if you smash it, if you break it, or if you put it in your trash compactor, it doesn't explode. So it's also a lot safer, and when it biodegrades, it does not release toxins to humans or the soil. So it's a very, very cool solution for safe energy storage solutions. So I could see that growing. It's not as powerful as lithium batteries at the moment, so I think they're working on that technology, but it's a pretty cool start. So those are my CES takes.
Yeah, even if it's not as powerful, I mean, the fact that it's not, that it is biodegradable and not as hazardous gives it already a step up.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Mr. Netto, what came out of it that kind of sparked your interest?
Things that spark my interest, obviously, chipsets and cameras. Obviously, my focus, a lot of the focus that we do at Snaren is on the broadcast side. So the commercial side kind of just tips the hat and kind of tells you what's going to happen on the pro side. It used to be, as we know, the other way around, but now cool inventions sort of come out of the user stuff. I for one, got a camera sent to me that kind of addressed the whole eye placement thing. So a company by the name of Eye Contact sent me their Eye Contact Camera Pro to mess around with. And it's pretty cool. Not so much on my laptop, but it does do some cool things on the screen if you can handle the pull down camera that goes to the eye level. As an AV professional, from a pro perspective, we want eye contact. That's the best part. It keeps you focused, and it does help, considering that I train myself to not look up or look for the cameras when I'm looking at that sort of stuff. So that's kind of cool. Still to me, it's that. On a side note, obviously for the work we do with higher ed and stuff like that, translation and corporate in higher ed and a lot of different spaces is big. So I love hearing about these AI translators that are doing it literally as speech is coming and it's talking in your ear. We're all traveling as well, so I am super interested in how those headsets and stuff like that work. Obviously, they're connected to your phone and they need a live connection, but that kind of AI translation on the consumer side is pretty cool, and we'll see where it goes on the professional side.
Mr. Jude, you'll have the last word on this one. What was something that came out of CES that you think is going to impact the UC space or the IT folks?
Well, if it wasn't that robot that looked like a table, like the Pixar lamp, I'm not sure if you saw that kind of walking around. If I'm not going to have that in my office, probably two that I'm thinking about is this, and they're more about not in their current iteration, but how they might be applied in the future. I don't know if you saw the Lenovo OLED display on the laptop, the rollable one that expanded. I mean, it got a lot of mainstream headlines, going from about 14 inches to 16 inches, kind of a full page layout. I think that's a compelling idea, especially if you start thinking about experience spaces, places that we're doing in terms of commercial spaces that might try and create, hidden away monitors or things like that, and then showing them and displaying them in a very nice fashion. I think that might be interesting. And that's also a step away from what Chris was talking about. Is there was an experimental one that was actually transparent. So now you have the ability to have information shared and maybe a camera placed specifically at eye contact level behind that. So in itself, I'm not ready to buy a Lenovo roll top laptop, but I think it shows the possibility of use cases that can take place. And then the other one is this, so leaning into what Kristen said, is NVIDIA everywhere, synonymous with AI. But they had a new chipset, the RTX 50 GPU, that actually has AI integrated into the image generation. And although people start thinking about gaming and more real life aspects of that, now think about this applied towards AR and VR and the ability to start doing those type of technologies. Again, AR and VR kind of went backseat in our space about possibilities. Chris was leaning into education, but the idea of being able to create these really more lifelike, more dynamic, immersible environments inches us closer towards the possibility of seeing some commercial deployments of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year's CES, they did have a number of transparent displays, but you're right about the roll top laptop, because one of the promises of OLED. Now, I love OLED because of the color and the color depth, and it reminds me of plasma. But it is the ability to wrap it around columns. You mentioned experiences, right? You can hide it very easily, right? The fact that it is flexible and it can be rolled to a certain, roll circumference makes it, again, if they can produce it at scale, awesome.
Absolutely. And then combine those two ideas that's talked about, that AI generated images and these displays that you can start putting anywhere around a column or things like that. It can become a really dynamic space that might be really, I'm using the term experiential, surrounding you.
Next story comes to us from AV Magazine. Samsung and LG are bracing for potential trade challenges as they address concerns about the incoming Trump administration's tariff plans. A couple of things before we start this. Number one, this is not a political discussion. Don't care one way or the other who you voted for last November. If you'd like, we can have a conversation over an iced tea or a cup of coffee off of the air. 100%. Second, we don't know what they're going to do. This is all speculation. Samsung and LG both are talking about what may happen in the future and their plans should the new administration in the United States put in these tariffs. The tariffs they're talking about right now are about China and Chinese manufactured products, which kind of leads me to say you might want to check out TAA and BAA compliant manufacturers, because those are folks that are either manufactured here in the States or manufactured at a friendly country's environment. Okay, cool, awesome. Again, Tim at AVNation.tv if you want to yell at me about politics. Samsung's co-CEO expressed confidence in the company's ability to weather any tariff storms throughout its diverse global manufacturing network and AI-enhanced supply chain management, while LG's disclosed that his company has developed a comprehensive quote-unquote playbook for various scenarios. Both industry leaders emphasize their flexibility to shift production across multiple facilities worldwide. All of that being said, none of us know what's going to happen. None of us know what the tariffs are going to be, and none of us know when or if they're going to happen. All of that said, Mr. Netto, beyond the tariffs, what is it like changes in government, what we are, if it's here, it's in Canada, it's in France, wherever. How do changes in the government impact the consumer? How do they impact the AV decision maker, the in-house integrator, when they're trying to plan for their summer installs, or the corporate client who's trying to plan for their next quarter's round of corporate UC space upgrades?
Yeah, this is AV toilet paper all over again. This is what we had in the pandemic, without a doubt, man. Buy, stick it in your bathroom, pile it up to the top. It's best I'm going to tell you, man. It is, we don't know. And what we don't know is the scariest part until we actually find out what it is that we do know. But things that we learned 4 years ago is that if there are certain things that you use as a company, certain brands, certain products that you guys like and would love to push and move, if you do have a warehouse, and I know that's a conversation for about 20 years ago for a lot of companies. I remember when AV companies used to stock, but there are things that you can stock, especially as these items have gotten smaller. A 55-inch mount, you can stock, right? Some of these wireless display systems are small in boxes, you can stock, right? They're smaller than a shoebox for that matter. Certain things that you think are something that you can sell, they'll just get you through, will move. The companies that, one of the first companies during the pandemic that everything got wiped off the shelves with was Icron. Icron USB extenders disappeared off of shelves like that. followed by USB cameras, and then Crestron and every other company that was manufacturing all of a sudden depleted through their stuff. But what the best defense could be, you guys or the integrators that are watching, is to go ahead, cut a purchase order if possible, and get some of this stuff in. If you are now speccing in projects that are a year out, if these are, one of Kristen's bids, take a look at the stuff that she's speccing. And if you can bring it in-house and you can handle having that sit in the warehouse for a little bit, then yes. And technology is difficult. 10, 20 years ago, you bought stuff and it can just sit there because it didn't need the updates it does today, right? And that's kind of like that's the sign of the times. Everything that we buy has to get upgraded. So think about that. Unfairly, I'm a distributor, so I'm going to tell you, if you can take it off my hands now and bring it into your own warehouse, or if you need to do something like that, or we can warehouse it for you, that's possible too. But stake your claim just in case. And what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to have an extra 50 mounts sitting there. I mean, you'll move them anyway. It's just a little change in philosophy, and just, I don't know if that's the best answer. I don't have a political answer for you.
I'm not looking for. I am actively not looking for a political answer.
Yeah, then I'm going to give you the best. Man, if I am in that situation, I used to collect baseball cards, and I knew baseball cards were going to fly off the shelf because they were going to be popular. The first box I got, I bought a box or two, and guess what? There's where my Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card came from, right? So it's kind of the same thing. My dog agrees, in case you needed that extra. But outside of that, yes, I am human. I do have a dog next to me. But yes, that's my answer. That's my final answer. Take that.
All right, I'll take it. Craig, same question. What is it about the government changing and their focus is on various things? How does that impact the folks that are trying to put these systems, keep these systems upgraded and get their next ones put in?
This is a sticky wicket of a question here, right? Because I think not only would you be dealing with scarcity, but then where there might be artificial price gouging in the process too, somewhere along that value chain as well, which is unfortunate, which hits every person that Chris talked about, from what Kristen goes to the integrator to the distributor as well too. That's my biggest concern. I love the toilet paper reference. I mean, that's kind of the idea here. So what's the best thing to think about? Well, you don't want to stop projects moving forward, right? Especially as you start seeing that these are tied more to business continuity. I think the downside is that some of these projects that are stretching the bounds of what a company needs, if they're more not considered to be business essential, and I would hate to see those slowing up, and that's going to be, I think, potentially the impact. Chris's advice was for the people in the middle, and I'm wondering about those customers on the end, how they're going to react to it or not. Will they get tight with their pocketbooks and their orders, or will they delay projects? Will they find other options? I mean, you mentioned Crestron, and people went out and outsourced everything, and it took Crestron a long time after they got stocked back in to that hangover effect to recover, some of that goodwill in the process.
So if I can add to that before Kristen jumps in, is you're probably going to see on a hardware side the conversation of extending the life of what you currently have. So OFE.
What does OFE stand for?
Owner Furnished Equipment. Sorry.
Thank you.
So owner furnished equipment is something that everybody kind of will kind of use. Like, well, let's reuse that camera. And, one of the things that we learned in the pandemic is speakers can be reused. I don't like to say that, but if you need to put in the sound system, unless they are weathered, right? But cameras, can they go another year? Can you go another year? I think all that is going to be coming into play, but I think people really need to stop and take a look at what their equipment is. And if the 1080p camera you bought years ago, right, is still operational, fine, but do you still want to do 1080p, or do you want to finally move to 4K? And that kind of hesitation has been slowing down our technology, right? And as one of the things that I recently said at a conference that I was at is that one of the things that we got out of the pandemic was that people are actually turning on their cameras, and people are not afraid to use cameras, where it was a learning curve back then to tell people 4 years ago, turn on your camera because this is the new way of doing business. I think cameras and camera improvement and all the stuff, even going back to the CES conversation that I just had, I think people are looking to that because that's part of the new way of business is video. You need to be in front. You have to have a presence. So one of these projects that is coming on with new cameras, I think people are going to start looking at that. And hopefully chipsets and stuff is not going to be affected, but we all know where these chips are being made.
I think one of the things you're hitting, which is important, if you look at, I'm thinking of it from the UC platform point of view, what are they driving in terms of new hardware use cases here in the next 12 or 4 years in that point in time? One of the past things that Microsoft was really keen on was the 21.9 by 9 monitors, right? For their front row rooms. Glass is going to be expensive. Glass is manufactured majority overseas, right? So that's going to be an expensive proposition for someone thinking about putting in a teen signature room or a front row room as well too. The other thing Chris lent in on is Zoom. Microsoft are leaning into multi-camera, large room environments, high impact rooms. And I think that's going to be an area that's also that may impact. So some of this business may continue forward. Small, medium, large rooms, the standard kit rooms. Hearing Chris and probably what Kristen's going to contribute here, I bet you we're going to start seeing those bespoke, high impact rooms is going to be that key area that would have slowdown based upon pricing or other areas.
Kristen, Craig said something about, ask the question, and I'll ask it to you. What do customers do? What do IT managers and AV technicians and AV tech managers do? Again, we don't know. There's no tariff yet. What these manufacturers are looking at and anticipating, what can they do to kind of safeguard themselves and their companies and their organizations?
There's going to be a lot of companies that don't like my answer to that. Look at alternates. It's interesting. So, and this is not a political, I'm staying very agnostic or just out of the way of anything politically, but after the election hit, we had a flood of proposals. So okay. I kind of want to take a different twist on this is, yes, tariffs may come back, but people, compared to the rest of the year, Q4, and this is what I've heard from a lot of people, was insanely busy versus Q1. And once the election hit, I felt like, we were slammed with work, we're slammed with proposals. January hit, I didn't know what was going to happen as far as like after the new year, if it was going to be a slow January, because usually, it can be, right? January, everybody's coming back. We got flooded again. And so people are spending money. People are doing projects. It's not, our team doesn't see a slowdown in the project work, which is fantastic. And I don't know if that is attributed to the election or not, but it is something that is happening. With the tariff conversation, as soon as the election happened, we also got price increases from a lot of manufacturers. Oh, the tariffs are coming back, so here's our new pricing. It's just like the tariffs haven't hit yet. That's a really poor excuse for raising your pricing. I almost want to ask, when the tariffs went away, why didn't your prices go back down? But I know that never happens, right? So,
fair question.
And so it's like it hasn't even happened yet, and they're already charging us more. So that kind of sucks to see that, and it's I understand a new year price increase, but a lot of people are blaming the tariffs that might come. So it's kind of like, really? Like, you don't even know what those are going to be yet. So it's interesting to get that response from prices. But I think, if manufacturers are doing that and they're saying it's because of the tariffs and that they have to raise prices, well, okay, so what are your competitors doing? Not everyone is raising their prices. So now you're almost putting yourself in a disadvantage for raising your prices because of tariffs that don't exist yet. So just a kind of a warning to manufacturers not warning, but just a heads up, your competitors may not be doing the same thing. I understand wanting to make more money. Everybody wants to make more money, but please stay competitively priced, because we like some of those products, and if we can't use them because of price, that sucks. So, yes, Chris.
Well, I have a question and a follow-up to your alternatives thing, because it's what happened after the pandemic, is that, yes, without naming specific company names or specific companies, but if company A did not or ran out of product and started saying that there wasn't a lot of product, there's a lot of product on the way and it never appeared, people started looking at alternatives. And what I think happened, and this is a conversation I have with a couple different people in the industry, what I think happened is that now, if you were to tell me 10 years ago that an AV company would take a shot on a relatively unknown company, to provide product, I would tell you no, they would go to their industry stalwarts. The ones that have always been there and that they know and that they can call their person there who would give them a deal and they would find the product for them. They have a special secret stash somewhere and we're going to get it. Well, that didn't happen during a pandemic. And during the pandemic, one of the things that we saw, I saw as a distributor, was this rise of companies that you could almost say or look at as startups. They've been around, but nobody paid close attention to this. And then all of a sudden, that company became
you would call them second tier, third tier type companies.
Which became the darlings of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And have made a name and now are eating other people's lunch since then. So now that if that wasn't a warning to the, hey, we got it, or hey, we don't got it, and hey, we're going to raise the prices, and I'm sorry, but that's the price is the price, and the price is the price. Right. There is now proven stories of companies that have come up and pushed others aside and have toppled them from nowhere, literally nowhere. So that is lessons learned. Again, these are things that we did not pay attention to in the pandemic. People forcing people to go back to the office, people not wanting to go back to the office with return to office. That's why it's still going on today. Right. That lack of product versus bad marketing and now PR issues that people are having trying to bring back customers. Yeah. AV finds a way. Yeah. They do. It's kind of the Jurassic Park thing. Like, we will find a way, man. The projects will get done with or without you. That's unfortunate.
And Chris,
for some people.
I'm so glad you brought that up because there was, manufacturers who during the pandemic couldn't provide product that were the A team, right? And some of them handled that well. Mm-hmm. They were very honest. They apologized to the clients. They said, when we get it, we can help you. We still want to work with you in the future. We can help find you a solution to make your system work. And then other A teams said, sorry, you'll never leave us. And that arrogance ruined companies. And so it's not as drastic as COVID was, but with the price increases, it's just like saying, oh, I'm raising it because tariffs are coming, but they're not here yet. It's just kind of like, really? That's how you treat customers? You're going to charge them for something that might happen in the future? Like, it's just, and I understand, everyone's welcome to run their business however they want, but it's an interesting thing. And it's just like, if you want to raise your price now, just say you're raising it because it's 2025, not because of something that doesn't exist. Right. So it's interesting, but I love that point, Chris. Yeah.
Don't forget the international aspect of this whole conversation too. We're being very U.S. centric in how it impacts us. Yeah. And the one thing is that those recent update about those tariffs actually is it's not just China specific. There was hitting some EU country products coming in as well. Yeah. I just think in general, the North American market could be handicapped. It doesn't keep AV moving forward in the European markets. And now I know some countries may not be as progressive as what we're doing in the US in terms of some applications and installations, but it's not going to keep it stopping moving forward in those other markets. So I'm curious. Is there going to be a disparity in terms of who's considered to be advanced or not? If this lasts for 4 full years or not? Does all of a sudden, installations in Germany or France wind up being cutting edge versus what we would thought would have landed on the U.S. first?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and this is also where we pull out the fact that the U.S. is not the biggest AV market in the world. Asia Pac is, and has been for at least 3 to 4 years. Yep. According to AVIXA and their market research. So this may actually, to Craig's point, put us even farther behind that.
Right, because the pandemic was a worldwide implication is what I was thinking about as you guys were talking about it. We're talking about a geographically limited impact for the most part here, right? So there's a whole new angle to play out in this. And I hope we don't cut off our nose to spite our face in the process.
I hope we don't either.
Well, hopefully it'll spark some new innovation in the States, right? Especially with AI being so massive, we're pretty good at tech in this country, right? So pretty good. We got a couple. Right. We got a couple hubs, right? So I'm hoping that it sparks that, and it makes it a heck of a lot easier if we can get a product from Ohio than overseas and have to wait, 3 months to get it when somebody can ship it overnight next door. So and there's cost savings for the client on that. And not saying that we don't. We like great products and we'll use products from anywhere, but it is a nice nice to have. It's also a lot less costly and a lot less effective on the environment as well for shipping and all that stuff. So
You just hit another idea. Don't discount the idea that a gray market may develop as well too.
Right,
So
exactly.
there's a lot of interesting things here because again, it's not a worldwide shortage of chips can't be manufactured to put in this box to get it out of the factory. This is just limiting getting it into our country through a price increase. So
Fun conversation to start your Monday off with.
You stink, Tim. You stink.
yeah, thanks a lot.
I will add, because Chris is really close to this happening. The longshoremen didn't sign a new contract. They just kind of punted their strike, and so that may also come up in the next month or two, which will also.
I got some longshoremen in the family. We'll bring him on AVNation and let them talk. You're going to need some sensors on the video though. They don't speak proper.
Forget about it.
Beep, 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 beep.
Kristen Bidwell from ABC Consulting. Thank you, ma'am. How do people connect with you or AVCT? AVCT?
AVCT. To connect with me, just go www.avconsultingteam.com. I'm also all over LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me anywhere. And yeah, happy to talk.
Cool. Mr. Durr, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you or Collab Collective, and how do we follow along your trek to ISE?
Very similar story. You can find me at collab-collective.com. That's our analyst firm website. But more importantly, it's a lot of social media activity going on. And as you mentioned, the three of us are going to be heading into the world's largest AV event here shortly. So look for a lot of social media updates about product launches, solution updates, and what have you coming from myself as well as a lot of these other people. LinkedIn, Twitter, I don't call it X, Blue Sky, I'm like Chris, I'm trying that a little bit too as well, and Instagram.
And I will be at some point on camera with Craig that week, so you can check that out. Mr. Netto, thank you, sir, as always. How do people connect with you? How do they follow along with your every Sunday questions? And then how do they connect with Starin Marketing?
First, I got to give some love to Starin. Starin is the company that I work for. Starin is Starin.biz. That's where you can find them. They're on the socials as well. Midwich is the company that is the company over top, the overarching company. That's the global conversation. So since we're going to ISE, I might as well tell you that it is a global conversation, and Midwich is the global arm or the head of our company. So check us out. We're in Hall 3, 3Q750 is the booth. If you want to see some really cool things, and it's not tech related, like you're not walking into a showroom, come see me. We have the AV On Air studio. It is a full functioning studio that is operating from start to finish during the trade show. It's open for use. If you would like to book some time, drop me a note. You can come in there. I have a producer, I have equipment, I have 4 seats, I have 4 microphones, a couple cameras. You guys can go and use it free at will. We just want to show it in use. Craig Durr will be there. I'm sure Tim will stop by to check it out and take some notes of what he wants at his studio at some point. But it's an actual working production studio. We do that. Why? Because not only do we have that, we work with some great partners that allow us to do that. But to be honest with you, it's a cool way to show technology in use as opposed to just hanging it on the wall and saying, get that, right? So that's one thing you want to check out, which is hashtag AV on Air. That's going to be kind of talking on the Twitters. You can find me on Twitter. Yes, X, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, and just about everything, Instagrams and stuff like that. If you want to see my food posts or my sneakers, that's where you find that. But yeah, Chris_Netto is probably the one that you find the most of. And CTS at the end of my name, Christopher Netto CTS. You'll find me on LinkedIn. Connect with me. I will not solve your I will not solve your tariff problems. But I can help you with some of your issues right now if you want to take some tech and put it in your warehouse.
And if you need new sneakers, he can help you.
I can recommend. Hey man, I just finished relacing my new ones, so don't knock it until you try it.
I need to put new laces in my dress shoes. As Matt Scott.
Yeah, no, come on. You need show floor shoes now.
50,000 steps a day, Tim. You can't do that in a pair of Oxfords.
I will be in Cole Haans that week. 50,000 steps. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me anywhere. If you're interested in what I have to say when I write about outside technology, you can catch me up on LinkedIn. That is the one thing I will allow say. But go by the website, avnation.tv. avnation.tv, you'll find this program and a host of others. A brand new AV Career Mastermind with Jen Weaver. She's talking about recruiting and referrals, so you can check that out on the website. I mentioned this at the top, the AVNation Reader's Choice Awards. This is it. Last 2 weeks, the final round is live now, so go out and vote. Go and vote early and vote often, because I'm in Illinois, and we do love our voting irregularities, I guess is the best way to put that in Illinois.
Hanging chads on those
Florida.
punch cards.
No, we've got the dailies and we've got corruption, but we don't have hanging chads. Those of you watching on YouTube, go subscribe to the AVWeek podcast, wherever you get your podcast. If you're only listening to the dulcet sounds of Chris Neto, and you want to see what he looks like, go find them on YouTube, so you can go opposite direction of where you're headed. So I
can't wait till we drop our first calendar, Tim. Me and you, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, he'll be plugging hair care products. You know, at that point in time, right?
Hair care products.
Product. I'm putting product in my hair now, thanks to Chris.
Yes, thank you. My barber will appreciate that.
We're doing an AV week, actually 2 AV weeks from the show floor as well, and bouncing around. If you're going to ISE, we do have the tweet up. It's happening from 4:30 to 6 on the 4th of February in the HD-based T booth. Thanks to them for sponsoring and for helping us out there. So you can check that out. Link to that, register for that. Let us know you're coming. So all that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Hi, this is Jennifer Goodyear
and Erica Carroll
from the Women in AV podcast, where we are encouraged by the incredible stories of women in AV.
Listen in on fun, empowering conversations as we chat with inspiring women, breaking barriers and creating their own path in the industry.
Check out Women in AV on avnation.tv or wherever you get your podcasts.